My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Sinister 2, and this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I despised this movie when I first saw it, and I just rewatched it for the first time, and it's an interesting movie to say the least. Do I like it? I don't know. It's the very definition of a mixed bag, but let's begin talking about the cast. And James Ranson is back as the deputy hero, and I like seeing him again, and he's a very likable character. He brings enough charm, enough personality to this movie, so I was impressed with him. Shannon Sossamon, I think, does a pretty good job. Um, Wish she was given a bit more material to work with, but still, good work. Robert Daniel Sloan and Darrington Sloan, they played the two brothers here, and I like the fact they cast actual brothers, and they do a fine job. Nothing great, but fine, serviceable enough. Tate Ellington plays the Vincent D'Onofrio character of this movie, and I thought he did a pretty decent job. Nothing memorable. Uh, Lee Coco plays the abusive father, and I thought he was good. There was one scene where he yells at his son to eat, and it's a very disturbing, very effective scene. Some might say it's too over the top, but it does work for me. But I hate to be mean to kid actors, but Lucas Jade Zuman as the ghost child is actually atrocious in this movie. This is an embarrassing performance. It is so bad. There's not a single moment where he's on screen where he's convincing. Just bad performance. So the cast ranges from good to mostly fine. The story itself is the biggest mixed bag element because there are elements of this movie I like. The entire plot with the deputy trying to catch Bagul and put an end to his reign of terror, that stuff really works for me. I was invested, I was engaged, I was on the edge of my seat. That is the best part of this movie. Then we've got this plot where this mother and her two kids are trying to escape the abusive father. Great plot, really worked for me, and I like how at the end of the movie, there's an actual reason to why they leave the house. They're not being stupid, there's purpose behind it. So that was really well done. And I do think there's some sort of commentary about how people can either turn out to be kind and good or abusive and evil. I wish it leaned into it a bit more, but it is definitely present. But there's a third plot. There's another plot. Okay, Gavin, let's just get into it. Everything with the ghost kids and the two brothers is some of the dumbest writing ever. Like, it is beyond stupid. It really is. The fact that these two brothers are competing for the chance to kill their entire family is just so far-fetched and just absurd in the worst kind of ways. Like, it's not enjoyable in a campy way, it's just stupid. And on top of that, the fact that the kids are actively choosing to do the killing kind of takes away from the first movie because I viewed the daughter as a victim, like her soul was taken by Bagul. But here, it's an active choice. So now I have to go back to the first movie and think about how the daughter got a little bit brainwashed by these kids and now she's chopping her family up in bits. No. Like, I know there's creatures in this movie, but that goes past the line of believability. Especially the fact that at the end of this movie, the family is up on posts. Like, before, I'm like, okay, evil possessed kid. But now I'm like, how did this normal kid choosing to be evil get the family up there? Like, it just is baffling. It's truly baffling. And none of the other ghost kids are mentioned in the first movie, so it kind of messes with the mythology of Bagul, but whatever. What else? So much of this movie is rinse and repeat. There's one of the brothers, he can't sleep. They're like, I know what can help you sleep. Come watch a movie with us. And he's like, no. And then they're like, please. And he's like, okay. So then they go downstairs. They're like, we're going to put on a movie. And he's like, no. And he's like, please. And he's like, okay, I'll watch the movie. And then they watch a disturbing movie. And then afterwards, he's like, okay, I'm going to bed. And they're like, don't you want to watch another one? No. Maybe tomorrow. Okay. Rinse and repeat so many times. Like, it just gets so repetitive and it makes it feel like the characters never progress or grow. They just exist in this little cycle, which isn't interesting or compelling. There's also no real progression of the supernatural. Like, the mom in this movie is oblivious to everything. So when shit hits the fan at the end, she should be reacting way more than she actually does. Like, this is her first experience with these ghosts. And she's just kind of chill. Like, no! Come on! Also, like, the whole idea of these kids throwing all this stuff around and then it cuts to their point of view where you can't see the ghost kids, that's a cool idea. But in the execution, it just doesn't land. It's kind of too campy for this movie. And then the abusive father getting killed at the end, it feels a little too perfect and his death isn't satisfying enough. And what else? Oh, okay, so let's talk about the actual movies being shown. There's no real purpose to them here. It just kind of feels like they're in this movie because it's Sinister 2, not because they have an actual purpose. It feels very shoehorned in, and they're just not as scary here. Like the rat one, excellent. All the others, very forgettable. I know it's a different director, but it just feels like it's trying to imitate the first movie at times. And yeah, it just, these videos are nowhere near as disturbing or as nerving as anything in the first one. The ghost kids also don't look remotely creepy. Like, I wish they put a bit more thought into that element. The ghost disappearing and reappearing looks cheap as hell. Like, it is embarrassing. And that scene through the crop fields is terribly edited, and I hated the sound music choice during that moment. But to be a bit more positive again, because I've been negative for a couple minutes, I do think there are sequences of this movie really well directed by Syrian Foy. In fact, this might be the saving grace, because I do think this movie has some nice atmosphere, and there were scenes that I really loved. Like, some people might just disregard them as cheap jump scares, but I disagree with it. The jump scares are built up to. It's never cheap, and the atmosphere is always present. So it just feels like the payoff to an excellent sequence. And there's one scene especially in the back hallway of the church which got me really good. And even the end one, as, okay, I'll admit, it is pretty cheap. It still got me, and it ended the movie in a memorable way. So I do think this movie can be scary, and the sound design can be very good. The use of that one radio is just perfect. So yeah, like, I would say my overall thoughts on this movie is that it's better when it's trying to be, okay, if this plot was just the deputy, like, trying to stop Bagul, and him encountering this mom and her two boys who are about to fall victim to him, and it's like a haunted house movie without the videos, that to me would have been great. But it's when it tries to be like the first movie, where it just feels stale. So, like, I don't know, like, I'm so mixed on it. There's elements of this movie that I love, that are effective, that are engaging. But there's other elements of this movie where it's just beyond stupid. But the truth is, if I would watch this movie again, so I can't in good conscience give this movie anything lower than a 5 out of 10. This movie kind of reminds me of Ouija, because I think I gave Ouija a 4.5, but I would actually raise that to a 5 because as stupid as that movie is, it can be effective. So I would put this movie in the same category as Ouija. But Sinister 2, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin,